In the words of the survivalist and bushcraft legend Morris Kachansky, the more you know, the less you have to carry, and the less you know, the more you have to carry. So here are 5 EDC hacks that'll help you carry less and will practically turn you into MacGyver. Let's do the damn thing. So the very first hack comes from a good friend of mine, Bushcraft Kelso. This is his hands-free mod. This works really well on AA and AAA flashlights like this i5T EOS. I also have a couple of others like the Preon from 4.7s, an i3T, or a Streamlight. This is the ProTac. Basically, any smaller flashlight like this with a tail switch works really well. It can work with other flashlights. It could also work with something that is like a rectangular flashlight, as long as you don't interfere with the button if it has a side switch or something like that. But let me show you how this works. It's very, very simple. All you need is a little bit of shot cord or bungee cord and some heat shrink. And Kelso sells this as a kit, not with a light, but a little heat shrink and some shot cord. He uses orange cord, so it's high vis, but I couldn't find that. I could only find some black. Just really quickly for example here. So you could also throw a little glow nut bead on it for visibility. So all you need to do is get some heat shrink that will fit over the diameter of the flashlight. This is a little too big for that head, but I want it to be tight to the body so you can actually put it on this way. All right, so cut a piece of heat shrink that is just long enough so it doesn't cover your threads. It really doesn't have to be that long if you don't want it to be. And then you would take a piece of this elastic shot cord, run it through there. And then since I don't have orange bungee, I have black. If you need the visibility, don't want to lose your flashlight, you could throw something like this glow nut bead on there as well. Tie off the end of your shot cord right here, slide the bead out of the way, and then you hit the heat shrink with a heat gun. Probably best to take the battery out first. Once it's cooled off, you put the battery back in, you are left with a hands-free flashlight. So you turn it on and you can continue to work with your hands and point it without having to hold the flashlight. You can put it on either side. And with one like this, you can still put this on the brim of your hat if you need to, but it's just a good way to add some functionality to your flashlight. It also makes it easy to clip it to things as well. So there you go, that's tip number 1. Hack number 2, it's something I've sworn by for a very long time. I carry not 1, but 2 wallets. If you saw my backpack video recently where I suggested things you should carry in your backpack, a wallet is one of those things. I have a main wallet and I have a secondary wallet, and here's why. This has nothing to do with like a dummy wallet for fear of getting mugged or something like that, where you give a potential mugger an empty wallet or some fake stuff in a wallet. This has nothing to do with that. This is my primary wallet with all of the cards that I use regularly. My credit cards, debit cards, license, insurance, things like that that I need on me all the time. And then there are tons of other cards, especially running multiple businesses and stuff. Cards that I have to have but don't want with me at all times. So membership cards, other credit cards that I don't really use all that much, I put in a second wallet. So this I keep in my backpack. I have a little lockpick set back there, a notebook, and then in the front of this, there's a bunch of other cards, credit cards, membership cards, things of that nature. I don't want a Costanza wallet, so I have a slim wallet in my pocket, and then everything else I need in this one, which normally stays in my backpack, but can also go in my truck if I'm not gonna have my backpack with me. So 2 wallets, it's more useful than you think. The next hack is very, very simple, and it's one that everybody should know. And it's one reason you don't really need a compass as long as you have an analog wristwatch. Let me show you. So most digital watches have compasses built in, but if you're lost in the woods or somewhere you need to know north-south and you have an analog watch and you're in the northern hemisphere, it's very simple. You just point your hour hand at the sun, which is right over my right shoulder here. If you have that pointed at the sun, you take the halfway, the midway point between the hour hand and your 12 o'clock position, which is at this point just a little bit past 1, and that is south. So directly out in this direction is south. So if I take this little button compass, we can actually test this, give it a second to orientate. Look at that. It's about the same position as the 1 o'clock here. That's south. So as I stated earlier, I said if you were in the northern hemisphere, this shows us south. If you're in the southern hemisphere, this would show you the position of north. So you just flip it depending on where you are in relation to the equator. But there you go, compass built into your analog watch. And again, it's not perfect. It's not exact just because different times of the year, the sun's gonna be in different places, but it's good enough to let you know north, south, get orientated, and go in the direction you need to go in. So the next hack is really just a product. It's Ranger bands, and I'm gonna include it as a hack because I don't think people use it enough. myself included. They're really awesome. They have a million different use cases like zip ties and duct tape. Ranger bands are awesome. So these come from my friends at Wazoo, and you can see just many of the uses here on this card, but you don't have to buy them. You can buy them if you don't want to make them yourself, but you can just make them with an old bike inner tube. Just cut it up, and that's a Ranger band. That's how it all started. But if you want different sizes and diameters and lengths and widths, you can buy this combo pack from Wazoo. But here are just 3 examples of what you can do with a Ranger band. So I showed you in my Altoid Survival tin that I had a bandit from Grim Survival around mine to hold it together and add additional gear. You could also just use a Ranger band and hold something like a glow card on the back of your Altoids tin. And then if you need to get this off, you just pull the whole Ranger band off. It's gonna keep it closed. Ranger band. Awesome. You could also do the exact same thing I just showed you with heat shrink with a Ranger band around a flashlight. This is better if you need to access like charging or say a side switch or something to that effect. You can put this on and take it off so it's not as permanent as heat shrink, but it's also not quite as stable, but I mean, it works just as well. And lastly, here is another example of what you see a lot of like bushcraft and survivalists use it for. You have a Bic lighter. Underneath this, I have about a foot of duct tape. I have 7 or 8 feet of candle wick, and then I have the Ranger bands wrapped around it. So in this instance, the Ranger band is not only holding the wick tight and keeping it from unwinding, it's also a fire starter. The wick is a fire starter, and so is the duct tape. So almost everything on here is pulling double or triple duty, and the Ranger bands are just holding the whole thing together. So it's really, really, and let me show you just real quick. So if you really need it, Ranger band can be your fire starter as well. So I don't always wear a neck knife. In fact, I rarely ever do, but if I'm camping, backpacking, hiking, I'm gonna have something a little more accessible like a neck knife. And it's all well and good, but I wanna show you a cool little hack that I learned recently. This will work with most, but not all neck knives, but you can take your standard lanyard off of it, and you can take something like this right here. This is the Wazoo Viking Spark. You could use just the spark or just the Viking whetstone, and now they have this new clasp mechanism that can easily go through the holes. I also have a Ranger band on here to hold everything tight. Slide this down, and then this can go around your neck. Now I did cut this a little short because I set this up before I knew that you could do this, so I would probably start with a little bit longer of a lanyard, but it works really, really well. Mine is a little too close to the neck for comfort, but that is a really cool hack. You're getting a lot out of such a small package. I'm gonna end this video with 2 hacks for Knipex pliers because I think they are awesome and obviously very, very popular now. But if you carry a multi-tool, what are the 2 things you use most on the multi-tool? Most likely, if I were to guess, the pliers and a bit driver or a Phillips flathead, whatever. If you carry just a Knipex, you're missing out on some of those other important tools, primarily that driver. But if you have a Leatherman ratchet driver or something like that 711L, what you can do is take your Cobra pliers. It works best with these 5-inch Cobra pliers. It does work with some of the others, but these it works best with. So if you open it up about that much, let it click into place, you'll notice that that hole is just big enough for this right here. It holds your flat bit adapter or your Leatherman ratchet driver, and you have a wrench with your Cobra pliers. So you can have, if you use mostly just the screwdriver and the pliers, you can have the same utility with just this. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I think that's awesome. The next hack has to do with these smaller Cobra pliers. These are the 4-inch. So 5-inch, 4-inch, you notice a big difference here. No grips. That's one of the things that I dislike the most about these little ones. It doesn't have a button either, which I wish it did, but hey, you go smaller, you're gonna have to have some sacrifices. One thing you can do, you can go to Lowe's and you can buy some Plasti-Dip, and you can dip these into Plasti-Dip and rubberize the handles yourself, or you can just use some heat shrink. I don't really like this yellow and green color, but it's what I got right now. So you can slide these on here, and you wanna trim it before you shrink it. So mark about where you want it to be. I want it to be just above the end of the handle, so about right there on this one. We'll do about right there. Get your heat gun. And now you have some grips on your Cobra pliers. Obviously it would look better with like a black or a different color, but easy grips on your Cobra Pliers, and they're easier to hold on to now. So that's it. Those are some really awesome EDC hacks that you may not have known about. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below, but also if you have any hacks to share, and let me know if you want to see another video like this in the future. Anything I talked about in this video that you may find interesting will be linked in the description down below, but that's it. I will see you guys in the next video, and until then, carry on. Can you take me higher?